Welcome to Health, Wellbeing and Lifestyle, and for our first guest today we have Sean Connell, who's a lymphologist, and today he's talking about the lymphatic system. Welcome, Sean.
Thank you.
Can you explain a bit more about that? I'm sure it's very confusing for people in lymphatic system.
Very confusing. So the lymphatic system is actually the purification system of the body. So it'll remove the dead cells, toxins, poisons out of the body. So we have the bloodstream that will bring the oxygen nutrition in, that feeds it to our cells. So we're made of up to 100 trillion cells. So if you're healthy, the cell is healthy. So the oxygen nutrition comes in from the bloodstream and the lymphatic system will take away all the dead cells, toxins and poisons. We have up to 200,000 kilometres of lymphatic vessels in the body. So that's actually around the world 3 times. So we have 3 times more lymphatics than we do have blood vessels. So everywhere we have blood vessels, we have the lymphatic system running side by side, but the lymphatic systems all go up between the cells, and that'll pull all the dead cells, toxins and poisons into the lymphatic system. Then it'll pump it through the lymph nodes. So we have up to 1,000 lymph nodes through the body. So they act like a water filter. So they are filtering the dead cells, toxins and poisons. If a lymph node swells up, it's just overloaded. It's just got too much toxins and poisons in there. So what that'll do is actually just pass it on to the next lymph node, purify as much as possible, pass it on to the next lymph node, and just keep sending those dead cells, toxins, poisons around our body through the lymph nodes until all those toxins are back to pure water. So when that's back to pure water, the lymphatic system will actually pump that water back into our bloodstream through the Sacravian vein at the base of the neck here, because our bloodstream is 91% water. And this is where the inflammation actually comes from. When we have inflammation in the body, it's come from the blood vessels and it's just built up too much too quickly that the lymphatic system can't remove that out. And you can hold up to 50 kilos of inflammation in the body. So most people have weight issues. It's mainly inflammation being held in the body.
So then why is it important to keep our lymphatic system flowing in that way?
Everyone is required to get 30 minutes of aerobic exercise every day just to keep the lymphatic system moving. Okay, so as we get older, obviously we're not as active, and that's when inflammation starts to build up, creating lack of oxygen, and that's when things start to break down because we're lacking the oxygen and nutrition getting to the cell.
Okay, and so to keep the walking up and also to maybe to have various services, or I know there's some amazing new technologies around for helping with the lymphatic system, is that right?
That's right, yeah. The healing of the 21st century will be energy. So energy is one of the ways to activate the lymphatic system. So there's only 4 ways to activate the lymphatic system, and energy is one of those.
And what are the other 3 ways then?
Deep breathing, so that's the aerobic exercise every day. Deep breathing, bouncing, so that's why kids jump on the bed. I actually teach people how to use a mini trampoline as part of our sessions. So bouncing and stroking, so that's where energy, massage and those sorts of things come in as well.
And Sean, thank you so much for the information you've shared. What would be your best advice for our viewers as a takeaway today?
We are required to get 30 minutes of aerobic exercise every day. So there's 4 ways to activate our lymphatic system. So deep breathing, bouncing, stroking and energy. So activating all those 4 ways will keep us healthy and happy. There's a lot of technology out there now that can really activate the lymphatic system and get that moving and help remove that inflammation, because we all know inflammation is the cause of all problems happening in the body because that's creating lack of oxygen. So we need to increase that oxygen getting to the cells so the body can regenerate, heal and do what it's supposed to.
And so with those 4 ways that you're talking about, can you just give us a bit more detail of each one?
So deep breathing, there's a lot of shallow breathing out there unfortunately at the moment, so that's why exercise is so important and going for walks and get that oxygen moving, which Oxygen, deep breathing activates the lymphatic system. Stroking, so we have massage, we have the dry brushing, we have those sort of techniques out there that help people. Bouncing, so that's why kids love bouncing on the bed, because they know it's good for them, and they love trampolines, and we actually educate people on how to use the mini trampoline and get the full benefits out of that. And there's energy as well, so there's so many energy techniques coming out that healing of the 21st century will be using energy.
Right. Is that with technologies, as you were saying before, that's using technology to trigger the energy, and how does it work?
Well, it activates the lymphatic system. We're actually an energy being, so when you break it down, we're more electrical than mechanical. So energy, we're electrical, so energy, frequencies, all those things will help the body.
Thanks so much for that, Sean. And I know we'll be talking about that more in some further interviews. Thanks. So for now, we'll say bye-bye to you. And for more information on Sean Connell and the lymphatic system, then please go to his webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au, and we'll see you back after the break.
After the break, animal communicator and therapist Carolyn Pope demystifies animal craniosacral therapy. Welcome back. Today we have Carolyn Pope in the studio. She is an animal communicator and therapist, and today we are going to be demystifying animal craniosacral therapy. Hello, Carolyn.
Hello, it's good to be back.
Yes. Now tell me, can you explain what animal craniosacral therapy is?
Pretty much the same as human craniosacral therapy. A lot of people will know it as CST for short. Derived from osteopathy. It's a very hands-on therapy, but literally the most pressure you're putting on is that of a 5-cent piece. So it's much more allowing the body what it needs to do rather than trying to force the body, because what a therapist thinks a body needs to do versus what the body knows it needs to do can kind of be a bit like the Montagues and the Capulets, really. So it's very gentle, and it's releasing restrictions, allowing the cranial rhythm to re-establish a correct path, and the animals benefit greatly from it. Yeah, so the most pressure I'm putting on is literally that of a 5-cent piece. And I often say to my clients, it's like watching paint dry, because they're just sitting and the dog or cat may close its eyes, it may lay down. You're not seeing much. But what's actually going on internally, there's a lot of recalibrating, and it's really, really big. If you ever have a CST yourself, you're going to feel a difference. And that's why I actually collaborate with a vet, because she will bounce information to me, or I will say to her, "Yeah, not quite sure about X or Y, can you please check that out?" Because no one person can fix everything. And often if I'm feeling restrictions, say for example in the spine, everything runs off the spine. So the moment the animal's movement is compromised, so is its digestion, its elimination. Dog may well be having heart problems, for example. All the nerves for the heart innervate out of the parietal bone and go down through the thoracic. So if your dog's got problems in its thoracic area or the parietal bone's jammed, that makes a huge difference to what the dog's heart is doing. And its medication may need to be adjusted. Everything interreacts with everything else. It's the one body. We're past the days of saying, this is good for the heart. The fact that your liver's going to keel over in 6 months has got nothing to do with it. It's that integrative, holistic approach.
And how did you get into it, and why?
Started with cranial for myself, because I had thyroid problems at the time and really, really bad migraines. And CST actually got rid of them. I was literally being injected every second day with really heavy duty stuff, didn't need anything. Because I'm me, I pushed my therapist to work on a horse I had at the time, and I'd had him for, I think, 6 years by that stage. Great horse, but he'd always been tetchy to put a bridle on. Deb released his temporals, which are temporal bones, which are basically releasing around the ears. And from that day on, I never had another issue with a bridle. And of course that got my very instant and undivided attention, started exploring it, spoke to a few clients about it, but unfortunately I wasn't able to afford it at the time. Had a phone call one day, picked it up, and it was one of the clients. They'd banded together and went, right, you're going to owe us X amount of CSTs. There's a course coming up. This is where it is. We've paid for it. Off you go. So I was incredibly lucky. And from the first day, I was just hooked.
And can you explain exactly what it is you do?
Animal will come in. I also use a bioenergetic handheld device because it speeds things up and it helps calm the animal, because no animal likes being on a table. I mean, obviously horses aren't going to go on a table. That's a little different. But most animals don't like heights in the same way I'm terrified of it. So it helps. And it's literally a hands-on therapy. I can start sometimes at the back end. Other times I'll start with one hand under the chest or the neck or the head. It really depends on the individual animal and also where they're comfortable, because a lot of animals, particularly dogs, can be quite head shy. Or if their neck's really sore, they're not going to want you putting hands on, and trust is earned. It's not given. And if a dog's got a really big problem, or any animal at one end, starting at the other builds up trust and releases the restriction. So by the time you get to where the problem really is, they're not worried. And a lot of the time they'll literally lie down and just pass out, which is really nice.
And what sort of ailments do you treat?
Pretty much anything in the age bracket. Arthritis, stiffness, can help with a lot of dogs that start getting lack of proprioception and neurological as they get older. Vestibular disease in dogs and cats is a big one. Epilepsy, pretty much encephalitis, pretty much anything, because it improves health. It's no different to you. It's being proactive rather than reactive. And of course, the earlier you can get to something, if you can, it's the same as us. If you start treating whiplash within the first 48 hours with anti-inflammatories, your long-term prognosis is going to be quite different. If your dog's leapt off the beach wall and crashed onto the rocks or whatever, getting onto it in the first 24 to 72 hours, the dog's going to have a lot less issues than if you wait 6 months and all the compensatory patterns have built up. No different to us. You really need to be proactive, and long term it's cheaper too to be proactive rather than reactive. I say to people, change of seasons, but you may well find that your dog or cat needs one session a week if they're acute or it's been let go for a really long time, for 4 or 5 weeks, and you may get down to one trip a month. But if you stretch it out to 6 weeks, you might be back to where you are. And it's not fair to our animal friends to leave them in pain when we can make some lifestyle adjustments and change the quality of life so very, very much. Because at the end of the day, quantity is great, don't get me wrong. We all want our animals to live to an old age. But if there's no quality, it's all irrelevant. And this is where holistic health and, in my case, craniosacral therapy makes such a difference. It's about the quality of life. And the more we can do to improve that, the happier everyone is.
And can you please give us some advice on how to have a healthy and happy animal?
Be proactive. I generally say every change of season, as they start to age from about the age of 6, possibly 4 with the larger dogs, because of course there's all the rate of aging. But just stuff like all your moodle-oodles and anything with hair under the pads, trim it back, because otherwise it's like you walking in socks instead of bare feet. They slide, they hurt themselves. Tiles, floating floor, timber laminate, polished floorboards, really bad for dogs and aged cats. I know they're a pain, but carpet runners are your best friend, and they can literally, in a lot of cases, be the difference between an animal being on painkillers and not, because every time they slide or scrabble, that's all we see. They experience a lot of pain. Just getting your flooring right, that's where your dog or cat spends 80 to 90% of their time. It makes a huge difference.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today, Carolyn. That was really interesting and very educational. For those interested in learning more about Carolyn Pope and animal craniosacral therapy, please head to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au, and hang around for after the break. We have another amazing guest.
Stay tuned. After the break, Yoga for Wellbeing instructor and author Pauline Rooney is talking about electronic devices for work, school and pleasure and yoga. Welcome back, and now we have Pauline Rooney back with us, our Yoga for Wellbeing instructor and author. And now we're talking about devices in work, computers and in school and in the environment, really. Welcome back, Pauline.
Thanks, Linda. It's lovely to be back.
And today the topic is devices in our workplace or school, in our environment, really, mobile phones. So how much time do we spend on these devices?
Linda, I personally was shocked when I was doing the research. On average, we spend approximately 17 years of our life on smartphones and other devices. And I found that truly amazing. I have read other reports that state that that 17 hours is only on smartphones, and other devices are added on top of that. No matter which way you look at it, Linda, we're on our devices a lot.
And how can we incorporate yoga into this? How does yoga help us to look at this differently?
Well, the blessings of yoga is we can do yoga everywhere and anywhere, and it is for everyone and everybody. So if you're at work or even at school, the same things apply. We tend to sit very set and lean in, and there's the yoga poses of sitting back, lifting, doing a spinal twist. We can do all of those, run our legs up and down, cross the arms over like this, all of these things. If you are at work, you can still read your emails while you're doing these. So there's no downtime with the yoga in the office, in the gaming room, schoolroom, or when we're having fun on the computer for relaxation. So there's just so many things. I could be here all day telling you about them, but the major ones is sitting up, because most people slouch when they're on a device. So it's sitting up, keeping the shoulders back and down. But also, Linda, I don't think many people think about their eyes, right? So with the yoga, we have what we call palming. It's I think we do it naturally. I really do. But we rub our hands and get them lovely and warm. We close our eyes and gently cup our eyes over, and we breathe in the warm. It is truly amazing how that, I'm sure you've experienced it too, that tired, glassy feeling, it takes all that away. And it gives us a cleaner look at our screens. So we see things more clearly. We're not misinterpreting what is being on the screen. We can read more and for longer. If you take short breaks, you can stay on your device for longer periods of time. It's very important. The other thing that yoga puts a great deal of attention to is what we call Hasta yoga. And that's the yoga of hands. I don't think a lot of people have heard about it. It's absolutely amazing. So if you incorporate Hasta yoga into the work, play or school time, you'll be amazed for the carpal tunnel, for the arm strength, all fingers, flexibility, mobility, and it's as simple as bringing each finger in turn together and then going back. You do that on both hands. This one may look a little bit tricky, but it's extraordinarily good because it works through the carpal tunnels. We have to close down our tall man. Then we're going to, if you lock those down, it's a lot easier. You're going to face your left hand up and your right hand down, so your index and ring go together and your index and ring go together. Now we take the pressure off the tall man and just sit like that and work those fingers back. You will be amazed how much work that is up the wrists. And then we release them and turn them over. It's fantastic, absolutely. And then we always circle through our wrists, because even with the trackball, we're fairly sedentary. We're working 3 or 4 of the movements. Sliding, same thing. So we need to keep the mobility in our wrists. So just folded leaf, see your fingernails, circle around, back. They are fantastic. The other one I really do like, and I can read my emails, pointer and thumb, and then if you can, look, this is going to look different from every person. Step the fingers up and over, because it pulls the fingers back in an opposite direction. So it's a bit tricky looking, really. And then we can let those down and then give the fingers a little bit of a wiggle.
Fantastic, fantastic.
They're so simple and so easy. Another one that I like to do is sit and ripple my arms, just like that, because our hands are up here. We want the circulation going through. We want to drop the shoulders and give that weight. Even those, they're great. Just to ripple through, get the movement going. Fantastic. The other one that helps the cardiovasculars is running on the spot. And that is as simple as sitting straight and running up and down like that. Again, you can be reading something, you can be on the phone, you can be gaming, you can be waiting while the other students are having their say. So all of this, it doesn't matter what age, what circumstance, if you're on a device, you can be doing yoga. It's that simple.
And what about your best advice for as the last takeaway today for our viewers?
Oh, look, there's so many, Linda. I could go on and on. But honestly, if you're stretching up, so just raise the arms, you might get your arms up to here, or you can get them right up. That's okay. The other one I think is very important is the shoulder roll, because we're sitting over way too much. And when we sit over, we squash our tummy a little bit too much, so we need to sit up. And when you're rolling your shoulders, it's very difficult to roll from down here. So we need to sit up and give that lovely roll, but keep those arms in. I really think between that and the palming for the eyes would be my 2 extremely good tips.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And if you'd like to know more about Pauline Rooney and yoga for wellbeing, specifically in this case about devices, then please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au, and we will say goodbye now till next week.
If you'd like to know more about our show, please like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel.